Good morning. Welcome to the King's Report News Hour. We're now in the 18th day of the ninth month by the heavenly calendar in the 16th year of Tengi. And I hope everyone is doing well this morning, wherever you are. Tim Miller sitting in for the second king of Cherukuri Hyungjimun. Yes. So just to remind you on Hak Jahan's situation, yes, she did report back to her prison today by the time that was established by the judge. Apparently, her lawyers actually asked for an extension of the suspension of her incarceration, but the judge, lower court said no, that's not going to happen. So she's back. She is back, and we will see. We will see how long she has to remain there. Um, I'm posting on X. I'm going to, I'm sort of checking the Family Federation people posts, see what they're doing. And when they use the term Unification Church to describe their organization, I'm objecting. I'm pointing out that the name Unification Church actually refers to the community of faith that accepts Reverend Sung Myung Moon as the returning Jesus and King of Kings and follows his teachings. And the Han group does not qualify. So I'm making that point on X. You may have seen it, or I don't know, but anyway, I think if you happen to see a post by a family federation where they use the term Unification Church, I encourage you to do the same. At least in Japan, the media is saying former Unification Church, which I guess we have to be fine with that because the Japanese church actually changed their name from HSAUWC to Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. The as I understand, in the U.S., they still the name of the corporation is still HSAUWC, but then they say, okay, we're doing business as, in other words, a DBA, we're doing business as this other name that they have now. I think I don't know what it is now. They keep changing it again. All right. Anyway, so she is back in prison, and I continue to pray and hope that she can repent. And so also, I'm also sort of tagging Acts 3:19 to some of my posts regarding Hakjahan. Okay. All right, Acts 3:19. You can check it out. All right, but there's always a way back. There's always a way back to God. Okay, because God wants to save everyone, even the most evil people. All right, let's look at what's going on around the kingdom. At the Chongpyeong, Tennessee, it is 39 degrees and mostly clear, partly sunny. Today, breezy this afternoon with a couple of showers, high of 68. Tonight, getting down to 49, a couple of evening showers and a thunderstorm, otherwise mostly cloudy. And then at father's hometown in Cheongju, North Pyongan Province, currently 46 degrees and mostly cloudy, getting down to 42 tonight with overcast skies. Tomorrow, a thick cloud cover and cooler, a couple of afternoon showers, high of 51. And in northeast Pennsylvania, it is below the freezing mark. Yes, it's 24 degrees right now, mostly cloudy. Today, getting up above freezing and going all the way up to 57 with mostly cloudy skies, breezy this afternoon. Tonight, periods of rain and low of 47. And then at the Liberty Rock RV Park and Campground in Liberty Rock, not Liberty Rock, it should be Liberty Rock, but no, it's not. It's Limestone, Limestone County, Texas. We'll have to rename that later on, perhaps. It is right now 60 degrees and clear. Breezy this morning, sunshine, high of 82. Wow, yeah, nice. And tonight, clear, low of 54. And at the Suncheon Palace in Korea, currently 54 and mostly cloudy. Remaining at 54 through the remainder of the night, and then tomorrow getting up to 68. Plenty of clouds with occasional rain and drizzle in the afternoon. At the Gunma Palaces in Japan, currently 56, mostly clear, becoming partly cloudy through the night, going down to 41 degrees, and then tomorrow intervals of clouds and sunshine, high of 62. And then in Guangzhou, Guangdong Province in China, it is currently 80 degrees, overcast skies, low clouds and humid through the night, 73 for a low. Tomorrow, clouds followed by a brightening sky and humid, high of 90 degrees in Guangzhou, Guangdong Province, China. Yes, 90 degrees for a high. Oh, I want to look at that. Air quality is unhealthy. Okay, so I guess we'll not be going there after all. All right, let's look at Father's Word. And let's see here, where are we? We're in the path of the um, person of a completed testament person. 성령 인내길. And okay, here it says, okay, speaking June 1st, 1975. Okay. All right. I'm not sure how this is going to be taken. Anyway, so yeah, I'll just say what Father says, right? I'll spit it out. The yellow race is the oldest son, the black race is the second son, and the white race is the third son. Okay. And we can unite these who are currently fighting. So they're currently fighting, and we can unite them with, or Korea can unite them with unification thought. So Korea can unite them with unification thought. And this is how we can build the ideal homeland that centers on God. And from there, we can have a world of peace, a world of unity, or I'm sorry, world of peace, a world of oneness, a world of unity, and a world of victory. Gradually. All right. That's enough. Okay. Thank you, Father. Yes. I was asked to give a talk back in the 1980s to a group of ministers, mostly Protestant, I guess, ministers that Father had brought over to Japan and Korea. When was that? That was when I was in Japan. So it must have been, I guess, 87, 86, 87, 88, somewhere around there. And I took one question. One lady stood up and said, "Is there racism in Japan?" And what did I say? I don't remember what I said at that point. Yeah. I think I said something like, "Oh yeah, well, there's racism in every society," which is true. I think every society seems to feel that they are uh, the best. They are every society, every ethnic group in the world seems to think that they are the best, in my experience. So I think there's pretty much no exception there. But yeah, um, in Korea, I have experienced that there is this sort of in the minds of Koreans, all right? I'm not saying that this is my thought. I'm strictly in the minds of Koreans. There is a certain hierarchy of races. I refer to it that way. And I think I may have referred to this. I think I may have told you this story a long time ago. I can tell it again about a discussion that I had with a North Korean journalist, with air quotes, all right? He's actually a member of the intelligence service, I'm sure, who I met at the Panmunjom Joint Security Area. And I think I've said before that, when I went there during the 1980s to cover the meetings of the armistice. What was it? The Military Armistice Commission. That was it. The MAC, the Military Armistice Commission. And when we went there, and me and other reporters also would go there. When we did, we would sign this waiver saying that if you get into trouble on the other side of the line, the U.S. military can't do anything to help you, so you just go on your own risk. And then we would go across the line into the sort of the North Korean half of the joint security area. And then when we did, the North Korean journalists would approach us, and especially said the first couple of times I was there, there was this one guy that took an interest in me. Apparently, I was his assignment, They wanted to find out everything they could about me. And um, but at one point in the conversation, um, this is, I was, you got to understand, I was in my 30s, all right, so I was really stupid. Um, I mentioned that my wife was Korean, and this really confused him. It was shocking to him. It was shocking to him, and it was obvious that he could not. He was experiencing cognitive dissonance. He could not figure out why a white man would um, stoop in his mind, or obviously not me, would stoop to marry a Korean woman. But then he figured it out. A light bulb went off in his head. Ah, what's that? I see, I see, I see. So you got your wife in America who's obviously white. And then you have another one here, right? You say you call her your wife, but she's actually your mistress. That was the only way that he could explain it to himself. Yeah. So the hierarchy of races, even so, it's interesting that even though uh, they may think that they are superior to all other races, and yet in this kind of situation, uh, the whiter you are, the higher you are on the hierarchy of races as far as they are concerned, not me, as far as they are concerned. And South Koreans are not completely immune to that either. Um, not completely immune, I would say. Yeah, okay, I've seen that as well in South Korea and in Japan. Yes, Japan, and I've only been to China a very short time. I've never had much experience with give and receive with the general Chinese population. In Taiwan, of course, this time I was there for 6 weeks, and I had a lot of discourse with Taiwanese members, and I did not experience anything like that among our members. But that's to be expected because blessed interfamilies, uh, we really look upon ourselves as brothers and sisters, and so I think that to a large extent, Father has trained us to overcome that kind of silliness, right? Yes, but even a short while ago, this was very pervasive. Uh, Very pervasive, even in America. For example, interracial marriage. In many parts of America, interracial marriage was considered illegal, right? In many parts of America until a few decades ago. Obviously, those laws have gone by the wayside now. So uh, it's something that we do need to continue to guard against. Yeah, but praise God that we are finally coming to the realization that, as Father would say in his speeches in America quite often, that God is colorblind, and that was always an applause line when he said it. All right, let's see what is going on, right? And um, there seems to be a feeling among people, and nothing that I'm about to say is financial advice, but there seems to be a feeling among some that something is not going well, and uh, although the numbers don't really seem to indicate it, I've pulled up a number of graphs here. This is a graph of the S&P 500. This is a 1-year graph, and as you can see, it's down over the last how long? Let's see, it peaked here. Looks like where October, end of October. So less, well, yeah, only about a week or so ago, about 10 days ago or so. And it's been down consistently since then. But these kinds of downtrends you can see occur quite frequently this is winter. And it's nothing like this is the Liberation Day crash, right? So it's nothing like that. And also, if you look at the dollar This is a 1-year graph of the dollar index. Um, and you can see that it peaked, it went just above 100 here a couple of days ago, actually, day before yesterday. Yeah, day before yesterday. And it's come down a bit off of that. So the dollar in general has been getting stronger against the basket of currencies since what is this, September 16th, so the middle of September. So the last couple of months, the dollar has been sort of up and down, but the trend has been upward. And yet, you get the general feeling though that people are somehow feeling that um, there's something sort of something in the wind that things are not really uh, going so great right now. So I think the government shutdown has to do with it, and that's unfortunate because it just shows how dependent people are, not only financially but also psychologically, on the government. Somehow, when the government is shut down for what is it now, 5 weeks now, uh, people feel, yeah, we're on our own, mommy and daddy are fighting and we're on our own, this kind of thing. That kind of the psychology, I think, is the problem right now, and people's psychological dependence on the government. So beginning today, of course, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, is reducing the traffic by 10% at 40 airports across the country. And as I look at the list here, just about every major airport is included. We can look at it here. Um, just about every airport that many of us use to go places is included, like Atlanta, Hartsfield Jackson, BWI, Baltimore Washington International, the Reagan Washington National in Virginia. I thought they would not be reducing that because that's one that the congressmen use, members of Congress and others, when they go back to their constituency, they all run to the national airport in Washington because that's the most convenient. DWI in Dallas and Honolulu, Houston. Well, Houston, the George Bush Houston, right? And Dulles is also included, and JFK is included in Los Angeles International LaGuardia, and also Newark as well. I saw it on the list a while ago. Uh, Liberty, I don't know where it is now, but yeah, it's there. And O'Hare is included, Philadelphia, Portland, SeaTac, so they're all there. So they're all there, right? Mostly the major ones. Right? So we'll see if that puts additional pressure on congressmen to somehow get things together. But the Republicans are standing pat, and the Democrats are encouraged by their victory on Tuesday, or their victories on Tuesday, especially in New York. And they feel the pressure from their constituency, their base, to continue to fight against President Trump and the Republicans. So it looks like it may be a while yet. So Thanksgiving may be very, very, very interesting. It's always interesting. Travel during Thanksgiving is something to be avoided at in any year, but this year in particular, it may be kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Yes. So we may want to think of how to deal with that if you're going to go any place this Thanksgiving. Yes. So prepare for that. Okay. All right, and let's see. So that's going on, and okay, I'm trying to figure out which story I want to start with right now. Let's start with this one. Okay. So President Trump is working hard right now uh, to undercut the Chinese monopoly on rare earths, and so he's reaching out to various countries that might be able to supply rare earth minerals to the United States. And in addition to other countries, he's also reaching out to Central Asian nation leaders. So as I've mentioned, rare earths actually are not so rare. They exist, in many, many places around the world, including the United States, including Canada, including Japan. Um, but the issue is, will the people there allow the mining to take place? Despite the environmental degradation that accompanies mining for rare earth minerals. And so it's the poorer countries in the world that may be able to uh, take advantage of the situation. And it looks like Central Asian countries are going to be among those. So U.S. pledged to make U.S. partnerships with each Central Asian nation stronger than ever before. And here he is talking to some of the people there, I guess. U.S. President Donald Trump hosted leaders of 5 Central Asian nations at the White House on November 6th, with talks centered on critical minerals as the United States pushes to diversify supply chains away from China. And this is exactly what I was talking about, how in the early 70s, Saudi Arabia and other OPEC nations sort of used their monopoly at that time, or near monopoly, on crude oil to strike a blow at United States and other countries that were supporting Israel. But the upshot of that was that the United States now is the largest producer of crude oil in the world. So there are ways of getting around these kinds of monopolies, and China actually, by doing this, has shot itself in the foot in the mid to long terms. Because now the United States is motivated to diversify away from China. The meeting involved leaders of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Trump said in his opening remarks that he intends to strengthen America's partnerships with the 5 Central Asian nations known as C5. And these are actually countries that China has been reaching out to. They were all members of the former Soviet Union. And I think Russia also maintains ties with these countries. And I'm sure that both Russia and China, I'm sure, are not too happy about America going in there. But what are they going to do about it? These nations were once home to the ancient Silk Road connecting East and West, Trump said. Today, their location in the heart of Eurasia gives them incredible importance and unbelievable potential. Sadly, previous American presidents neglected this region completely. Well, all right, well, there was a reason for that. Anyway, the president said he understands the importance of the region and pledged to make U.S. partnerships with each Central Asian nation stronger than ever before. One of the key items on our agenda is critical minerals. In recent weeks, my administration has strengthened American economic security by forging agreements with allies and friends across the world to broaden our critical mineral supply chains, he noted. Kazakhstan President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev called the meeting the beginning of a new era of interaction between the United States and Central Asia, and expressed confidence that Trump would bring common sense and traditions that we all share and value. And you know what would be very, very effective in establishing this relationship? It would be a rail connection between Central Asia and the United States. Just saying, just saying. Like I've mentioned before, the shortest distance between Chicago and Beijing is a line that goes through the Bering Strait, and actually 50 miles north of the Bering Strait. So also, if you wanted to have an effective transportation between these countries and the United States, a rail line between them and the U.S. going across the Bering Strait would be very, very important. Of course, as I mentioned before, the actual tunnel or bridge, whichever it turns out to be, is not the difficult part of the engineering. The difficult part is not just hundreds, but thousands of miles of tundra there, especially in Russia, although several hundred on the Alaska side as well. And you have to connect the rail all the way down to British Columbia, Canada. So anyway, I'm just saying that this may move the United States closer towards saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we need a rail line, yeah, across the Bering Strait, going to the Central Asia countries so that they can ship their minerals more quickly and more effectively, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's. I could go on about that, but anyway, I'm convinced that your wise and bold policy needs to be strongly supported worldwide, Tokayev said at the meeting. Trump said, and now some of these folks, some of these leaders in the Central Asia are kind of, shall we say, off their rockers. I think, I think, let's see, I think it was Turkmenistan. Yeah, yeah. Turkmenistan is sometimes referred to as being worse than North Korea. Let me see here. I think that's the one, right? Uh, is this the one? Yeah, okay. Traveling to the world's strangest country. Yeah, yeah. I think I'm pretty sure this was the one. Yeah. So anyway, but hey, listen, if they can provide the minerals that we need, then we love them, right? Right? But I think if you sort of look around, you'll find some travel reports from Turkmenistan that are pretty off the wall. I'm pretty sure it was Turkmenistan. Okay. Anyway, all right, so, all right. Um, let's see, where was I?
The idea of actually.
Yeah, okay. Right. So anyway, Trump was just saying good things about them now. Today, their location in the heart of Eurasia gives them incredible importance to unbelievable potential. Sadly, previous American presidents neglected the region completely. The president said he understands the importance of the region and pledged to make U.S. partnerships with each Central Asian nation stronger than ever. One of the key items on our agenda is critical minerals. In recent weeks, my administration has strengthened American economic security by forging agreements with allies and friends across the world to broaden our critical mineral supply chains. Kazakhstan President Kasim-Jomart Tokayev called the meeting the beginning of a new era. Hey, we already had that. Come on. And yeah, we had that as well. Okay, so. And the move is mostly symbolic as Kazakhstan has had full diplomatic relations with Israel since 1992. All right. And oh, yeah, the Kazakhstan joining the Abraham Accords. Yeah. Right. Kazakhstan is one of the places where there are a lot of ethnic Koreans because Stalin, looking at the situation in eastern Siberia, said, "Look what we have. We have all these Koreans there on the eastern part of Siberia, and we can't trust them because they might uh, get together, with their people on the Korean Peninsula and so forth." And so he loaded them all in boxcars, and then the freight train pulled the boxcars along the Trans-Siberian Railroad, and then at a certain point where there is absolutely nothing, just nothing, they opened the boxcars and said, "Okay, get out." And and then once everybody had gotten off the boxcars, the train then started up again and pulled away. And I've read about some of the suffering that people went through. I mean, they basically had to sort of dig sort of holes or dig little caves, in the side of hills and so forth, or wherever they could, where there was a slope, they would try to dig something that would protect them from the cold and from the weather and things like that. And of course, many died, but many also survived, and they. Um, they are largely ethnically, or many of them are ethnically Korean. So they are a tough breed because they've survived that kind of situation where Stalin basically put them out there and said, "Okay, well, I don't care if you live or die, one way, whichever. Just you can live if you can, or if you die, I don't care." That was the kind of situation that you had in the Soviet Union. Really, throughout history, it's just amazing what people have done to each other. Not just Hitler, but and not just Pol Pot, not just Mao, not just Kim Il Sung, Kim Jong Il, Kim Jong Un, but just a whole lot of people when they get into power like that, they exercise the power in a way that is just the level of inhumanity is just unimaginable sometimes. And that's why we need to make sure that power is always dispersed. And so that's what the Chonigu Constitution does, right? The king uh, does not have a great deal of power. In fact, he has very little power. Even in the judicial branch, he really is tied in many ways. And he does not have any power in the executive branch. He does not have any power over the military or police and so forth and so on. Anyway, I don't want to get into a lecture of the Chinese Constitution right now. But so anyway, Kazakhstan and Central Asia. So that's why there are a lot of ethnic Koreans in Central Asia. Okay. U.S. President recently said that in a year and a half, the United States' complete dependence on China for critical minerals, a strategic vulnerability, 3 decades in the making, will no longer be an issue, right? Probably if there had been some better planning, it would be an issue now, but I don't know who exactly was asleep at the wheel, but someone, in the energy department or somewhere should have been saying, or maybe in Congress should have been saying, "Hey, look what's happening here. We're making ourselves completely dependent on China." But no one did. No one did. I guess, or at least not loudly enough. And so we are where we are right now. All right, let's see. Okay. Let me just check. Central Asian country worse than North Korea. Let me just make sure. Yeah, that's right. Turkmenistan. That's what comes up. Yes. Here, yes, 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 yes. Right. Okay, the other North Koreas nobody talks about. Okay, let's just look at this one. There are other, albeit less talked about, destinations with similar reputations as North Korea, including Cuba, China, and Turkmenistan. Okay, yes. All right, so yeah, I was right. Right. Anyway, let's move on, move on, move on. Okay. All right. Let's see. Also, Canada as well is stockpiling scandium, graphite, and other critical minerals. Okay. Yes. Interesting that this story I find interesting. Over 35,000 people are applying to join Trump administration as, quote, homeland defenders, unquote. Hey, there's a job for someone. Tens of thousands of Americans have applied to join the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services as, quote, homeland defenders, the most applications received for any position in the agency's history. Let's bring this up a bit. What's this all about? The Homeland Defender campaign has already been a tremendous success and has resonated with the American people, USCIS Director Joseph Edlow said in a statement. I'm pleased to announce that in addition to seeing a historic number of applications, we are starting to bring on applicants at a rapid pace. Homeland defenders will serve under USCIS and determine whether a foreign national is eligible for immigration benefits, including interviewing them and reviewing their applications. USCIS officials have said Homeland defenders will work to protect the nation's immigration system from fraud and security threats. Edlow, in particular, pointed to the Department of Homeland Security's aggressive social media campaign to reach Americans interested in serving as Homeland defenders. Protect your homeland, defend your culture, become a Homeland defender. One particular ad on DHS's X account reads, the video campaign has received almost 500,000 views. Right, okay. Yeah, they said Homeland Defender, so I thought these people would be walking around with AR-15s, but I guess that's not the case. Right, I had the wrong impression. USCIS officials said the agency would soon be onboarding the first round of Homeland Defenders, including former law enforcement officials and military veterans. Homeland Defenders officials said could be eligible for up to $50,000 in signing bonuses and student loan repayment, among other perks. USCIS is not wasting time. We are committed to implementing President Trump's priorities, Edlow said. These candidates are not just applying for a job, they are applying to guard our values and defend our homeland. I look forward to onboarding many more Homeland Defenders in the coming weeks. All right. So I thought it was a kind of a peace police, peace militia type situation, but guess not. Yeah. All right, let's see what else is on Breitbart here. Now, Breitbart is very much focused on the New York City situation. I want to sort of pull away from that. I think we're going to, well, you know, what is it? They say the proof is in the pudding. We're going to see things fall apart there, so we'll just wait for that to happen and report on that as it happens. Okay. And Gerdetsky, low propensity voters who voted for Trump did not show up Tuesday. Okay, that may be true. They may have been demoralized. And okay. Report says Democrats are unified on continuing government shutdown. And of course, I mentioned already that Musk, it looks like he's going to get that 1 trillion compensation package. Apparently, 75% of the shareholders are supporting it. They had a vote, and 75% supported it. Well, you know, if you give him $1 trillion, you know he's going to put it to work, right? He's going to, maybe, I don't know, maybe put it into SpaceX or Tesla or one of the other companies that he has going and make money for the shareholders in the process. So I'm not surprised that they are giving him that money. So it's about capital allocation. And if someone is good at allocating capital, then you want to give them as much capital as possible so that they can allocate it in the most efficient way. It's certainly better than giving the government $1 trillion, right? It's certainly better than that. So the government is very poor at capital allocation. They will spend it on all sorts of things that are not all that productive. And there's a lot of graft and fraud in the process. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, Syria. Okay. So yeah, Syria's relationship with the United States is improving quite a bit. That's interesting, quite interesting. Let's take a look at this. So one of the characteristics of President Trump's foreign policy is that he's not going to sort of keep the same sort of enemy or friend ally relationships as in the past. He's very pragmatic. So here, the UN lifts sanctions on Syrian president ahead of White House visit. So the current leader, is he a president? I'm not sure. I guess he's president, is coming to the White House. And of course, under Assad, that would have been unthinkable. But now this guy who basically overthrew Assad is now sort of, and he used to be, they used to have a big uh, prize on his head, right? Something like $100,000 or $1 million, something like that. But now he's coming to the White House. Hey, listen, things are changing quickly in today's world. You gotta pay attention. Who knows? Kim Jong Un may be our friend pretty soon. Maybe what like I said, I think that's actually possible. The UN Security Council has voted in favor of a U.S. resolution. See, the U.S. is sponsoring a resolution to remove UN sanctions on Syria and on this man, to lift sanctions on Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara ahead of his White House visit next week. So he's coming to the White House next week. Shara was named transitional president after leading a rebel offensive that ousted Bashar al-Assad in December 2024, ending 13 years of civil war. Washington's ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, said the UN had sent a strong political signal that recognized Syria was in a new era since Assad was deposed. Shara was under UN sanctions as the leader of the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which was formerly linked to al-Qaeda. The U.S. removed HTS from a list of foreign terror groups in July. So things are really changing now. The UN also removed sanctions on Syrian Interior Minister Anas Khattab. Syrian's foreign minister welcomed the removal of sanctions, posting on social media. Syria expresses its appreciation to the United States and to friendly nations for their support of Syria and its people. So this should be a lesson to Kim Jong-un, right? One of their big sort of concerns is that they want their sanctions to be removed. Well, I predict that if Kim Jong-un, all he has to do is write a letter to President Trump saying, hey, you know what? I've got some rare earth minerals here. You want them? Come and get them. Of course, you got to remove our sanctions. According to North Korea, there is the nuclear thing. That is a thing. That is for sure. But if rare earth minerals are involved, and the U.S. is, I don't want to say desperate. Maybe I should say desperate. If the U.S. is motivated strongly enough, let's put it that way. If the U.S. is motivated strongly enough, I think the nuclear thing can be worked out. I predict, yes. So listen, you got to pay attention. I'll bet one of these days we're going to wake up and North Korea is our ally. So when you see that, just laugh, all right? Just laugh. But remember, you heard it here first. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Shar's White House visit on Monday comes after U.S. President Donald Trump said the Syrian leader had made good progress towards bringing peace to the war-torn country. The pair met for the first time in May when Trump visited Riyadh on a tour of the Middle East. After that meeting, the U.S. president described Shara as a tough guy with a very strong past. Strong past, yeah. Listen, Kim Jong-un, well, I don't know if Kim Jong-un has a strong past, but certainly Kim Yo-jong, his sister, has a strong past. His Islamist group HTS was al-Qaeda's affiliate in Syria until he severed ties in 2016. Right. Yeah. And after the meeting, Trump said Shara had a real shot at pulling it together. Okay. So Trump is pragmatic, you know, and he's not going to say, well, we've been enemies with Kim Jong-un for so long that we got to keep that up just for appearance's sake. No. He's going to say, well, listen, if they got rare earths, which they do, by the way, and they've got a lot of rare earths, they've also got some gold. They actually have a lot of minerals in North Korea, more than South Korea. They have a lot of natural resources. Which is why during the when Japan was governing the Korean Peninsula, when it was annexed, once it annexed the Korean Peninsula and made it part of its territory, they established most of the industry on the peninsula in the northern part of the peninsula, and the south was allowed to remain agricultural and poor. Well, of course, that has changed today, hasn't it? Yeah. But hey, listen. And Father said that North-South unification cannot occur as long as there's this huge economic disparity between North and South. So listen, I think, I've been saying this is outside the box, but the box is moving or it's expanding. Yeah, why don't I go ahead and make a prediction that the United States and North Korea will become, I don't know, allies, but friends. They'll become friends before long. We may be in Cheongju before any of us can even imagine. We may be in Cheongju before any of us can imagine. Yes. Oh, I'm getting inspired. I'm getting inspired. Okay. We may be in Cheongju before any of us can imagine. Wait, May, all right? I said May, right? I said May, May, May. May is a good word because you're not taking responsibility. If it turns out otherwise, well, okay, well, that didn't turn out. Excuse me while I take some water. Try to cool myself down here. Getting too hot spiritually. Praise God, praise God, praise God. Yes. Listen, when Father starts moving, you better watch out and you better make sure you're not in the way. That's all I got to say. Yeah. All right, so that's what's happening now. Yeah, the president of Syria is visiting the White House next week. Okay. All right, let's see here. Let's we go to. Yeah, we already did most of what's on Newsmax. Okay. All right, let's see here. Maybe I don't have to learn Chinese after all. Okay. All right. Focus, focus, focus here. Let's see here. Okay. Weight loss drugs not without risk. Okay. Russia, China have new generation nukes. Rick Scott, Dems put politics before workers. Yeah, here I go back to North Korea. If U.S. and North Korea were to have some sort of rapprochement, this would irritate, and this would irritate Xi Jinping a great deal, tremendously, because North Korea is useful to China as a kind of a thorn in the side of the United States. It's always causing problems for the United States. So if President Trump is able to diffuse that, to neutralize North Korea, at least as a threat, that would be a tremendous blow to China, and I think it would sort of help to destabilize the communist regime in Beijing, in my opinion. Gee, man, someone in the White House has got to be listening to this, all right? Someone in the White House has got to, someone send them the link to this. All right, let's see here. Okay. Heritage, okay, we have the anti-Semitic thing there, okay. And Department of Homeland Security says illegal border crossings down to lowest ever. Yeah, well, yeah. And okay, Musk, trillionaire, and subpoenas. Yeah, okay, there's not much else that we can look at. Pelosi retiring. Okay, we covered that already a couple of days ago, I think. Several ill after white powder found at military base. All right, well, that could be something. We don't know. There are all sorts of things on white powder, but normally when white powder comes out, you think of cocaine or you think of some other sort of poison like racin or something like that, okay, or some other terrible thing. All right, I think that's all we can do here. Right. Okay, all right, we can stop that. Let's go down here a little bit further on the Epoch Times. U.S. government revokes 80,000 visas. The administration won't hesitate to revoke the visas of foreigners who undermine our laws, said a State Department official. Okay. So the pendulum really is swinging past the midpoint and all the way to the other end, the other extreme. And I suppose, after being, wait, America's been very, very generous for many decades. And right now it's in a process of cleaning house, sort of cleaning up that. And I'm sure at some point they will it will moderate it, and sort of the pendulum will come to the midpoint. And immigrant investors to face lower visa fees and DHS draft rule. Okay, immigrant investors. And how Trump administration is battling state level lawsuits against oil giants. This actually looks like an attempt to bankrupt the energy companies in America, says Consumer Group. Yes, well, we know the left wants to bankrupt America, wants to destroy America. That's their purpose. They believe that America is the problem in the world. And if they can just destroy America, then everything will be all right. Okay. I'm not too interested in getting into that, though. All right, let's see here. Okay, Tesla. More than half of US adults report signs of loneliness, societal division, according to a poll. This kind of relates to the King's message, the recent message about the sort of the true love hormones, right? Um, and he gives the example of the study that been done by Harvard since 1930s or something like that. Let's see if we can come up with that. Harvard study on happiness. Okay. Harvard longitudinal study on happiness. Longest study now. I think, okay, this is probably it. Oh, yeah, okay. This is what the King is referring to here, it looks like. The Harvard study of adult development, ongoing since 1938, reveals that the key to a happy and fulfilling life lies in the quality of our relationships. So, the reason I bring this up is because we see here that more than half of US adults report signs of loneliness and societal division. Yes, not happy, not happy. So relationships, that's what keep us from being lonely, I guess. The Harvard study of adult development is one of the longest running studies of adult life, having begun in 1938. Initially, it tracked the lives of 268 Harvard sophomores during the Great Depression, aiming to uncover the factors that contribute to a healthy and happy life. Over the decades, the study has expanded to include over 1,300 descendants of the original participants, providing a wealth of data on physical and mental health, career trajectories, and personal relationships. And here, I guess you can go to the actual study. Key findings, importance of relationships. The most significant finding from the study is that positive relationships are crucial for happiness and well-being. And this is sort of where the King begins his talk, basically, of the true love hormones, as he calls them. Um, anyway, you can. I'll put the link to the English version of that in the description of the YouTube video. Once this live broadcast ends, I put it on YouTube, and I'll put it on the YouTube description. Participants who maintained strong social connections reported higher levels of happiness and better health outcomes as they aged. This finding emphasizes that it's not career achievements or material wealth that lead to a fulfilling life, but rather the quality of our relationships. Yes. So is Elon Musk, with his $1 trillion, is he happier than the rest of us? Probably not. Probably not. I suspect that Elon Musk gets pretty lonely. He is not so good at interpersonal relations, I get the feeling. Loneliness and health. The study has also highlighted the detrimental effects of loneliness, which can be as harmful to health as smoking or obesity. Maintaining close relationships is essential for both emotional and physical health, particularly as individuals age. In particular, who would be the closest to us? Hmm? Who is going to cleave to us as one? That's our spouse. so, so that's why the true love hormone speech is so important. Social fitness, the researchers advocate for the concept of social fitness, which involves actively nurturing and maintaining relationships. Just as physical health requires exercise, so too does our social life need attention and care to thrive. Yes, so weekly dates with your wife, 15 minutes of a face-to-face conversation daily. Long-term impact. The study found that relationships satisfaction at age 50 was the strongest predictor of physical age health at age 80. Let's see, when was I 50? Okay, all right, yeah, okay, all right. I think I'll be all right. This underscores the long-term benefits of investing in meaningful relationships throughout life. Praise God. Okay. Conclusion, the Harvard Adult Study of Adult Development has provided invaluable insights into the nature of happiness and well-being. Its findings suggest that prioritizing relationships and social connections is essential for leading a fulfilling life. And the King gives the figure of 15 years, that healthy relationships extend a person's life by an average of 15 years. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see here. As the study continues, it serves as a reminder of the profound impact that our social lives have on our overall health and happiness. For those interested in a deeper explanation of these findings, the book The Good Life: Lessons from the World's Longest Scientific Study of Happiness by the study's directors offers a comprehensive overview of the research and its implications. And it looks like this is uh, the link to that. All right. All right. So I will, as I said, I will put the uh, the King's speech in the description below the YouTube version of this King's report today. All right. So, but anyway, more than half of U.S. Or say they're these people. What are they doing? Okay, that's is that dopamine or is it oxytocin? Looks like dopamine to me. Okay. All right. They released, so the Psychological Association released a poll on November 6th that found more than 6 in 10 US adults say societal division is a significant source of stress in their lives. Well, societal division, or it's family division that they should have been looking at. The survey conducted online, online. That means that people, only participate if they want to. The Harris poll on behalf of the APA among more than 3,000 participants aged 18 and up found that 54% of US adults reported feeling isolated from others, while 50% said they have lacked companionship often or some of the time. Roughly 60, well, because people are just sort of going from relationship to relationship, especially in terms of their conjugal relationships, right? That's really sad what has happened there. Roughly 62% reported societal division as a major source of stress in their lives, with 61% of that group saying they felt isolated often or some of the time. Nearly 7 in 10, 69% said they needed more emotional support in the past year than they ever received, which is an increase of 4 percentage points from 2024. All right, so yeah, but the King, of course, is focusing on the husband-wife relationship, but that's sort of that's the core for all relationships, because as Father said, the family is the training ground for love. That's where we learn the how to love in the 4 ways. children's love for parents, children's love for each other, the sibling love, in other words, the conjugal love between a husband and wife, and the love of parents for their children. So it's in the family that we learn. And when we go out into society, then we've loved our siblings, or in terms of the extended family, our cousins, or kids in the neighborhood, our siblings. So then we're able to transfer that to colleagues in our company, or just people that we meet on the street. And as Father said, okay, well, I don't have time to go into it now. But Father has talked about this. So that's why it's important, as the King does. That's why it's important to focus on the family, and within the family is the husband-wife relationship that is truly, 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 truly core. Okay? If the husband and wife are united somehow, then there is hope. But if husband and wife are not united, anyway, that's where we got to begin. That's step one. That's step one. All right, gotta go. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Saturday. Yes, so I will see you tomorrow. God bless, Godspeed. May His kingdom come quickly.